The sound echoed like thunder across the palace courtyard. Shattered. That was the only word running through Queen Adizwa's mind as she stared at the massive palace gates slamming shut right in her face. Dust rose around her feet, settling gently on the dirty rags wrapped around her like a second skin. Her hands trembled against the rough sack strapped over her shoulder, the same sack she had carried for weeks in disguise. Picking trash, sweeping corners, hiding in shadows, watching people's true hearts reveal themselves. But none of that prepared her for this moment. The screaming from inside the palace was loud enough to shake the marble columns. Guards were running. Palace maids were crying. Somebody was shouting the prince's name. And in the middle of all the noise, Queen Adizwa stood there, clothed like a beggar, smelling of dust and smoke, her royal heart pounding like it wanted to burst out of her chest. She had never felt such fear. Not even on the day she became queen. Not even on the day she gave birth to her only child. Nothing compared to the terror of realizing that the woman she chose, the woman she believed would be the perfect wife for her son, had done something so terrible that the entire palace was in chaos. "What have I done?" she whispered, her voice breaking like glass. A group of villagers who had followed the spectacle were gathered behind her, whispering among themselves. Who is this trash picker trying to enter the palace? Why is she acting like she belongs inside? She should go back to the village dump where she came from. They couldn't recognize her. Nobody could. That was the point of the disguise. But right now, stripped of power, rejected by her own home, and faced with the consequences of her undercover mission, Queen Adizwa felt smaller than she had ever felt in her life. A palace guard stomped toward her, his armored boots striking the tiles with force. "You!" he barked, grabbing her arm. "The king wants you inside. Now!" She swallowed hard, her mind spinning. King Adewale? He wanted her like this? Why? She asked, her voice barely steady. Because the guard growled, pulling her closer. The chaos happening inside started because of you. Her heart almost stopped beating. She didn't even resist as the guard dragged her toward a side entrance used by cleaners and laborers. The villagers watched, murmuring even louder. Trouble has found her. Imagine a beggar causing problems for the entire palace. She will see the king today, if she survives the king's anger. Queen Adizwa kept her head bowed. The disguise was already pulling at her spirit, like a weight. Her back ached from weeks of bending and lifting trash. Her skin smelled of the road she walked. And now she felt the deeper ache of guilt. She thought she had done the right thing. She thought going undercover was the only way to find a woman who loved her son, not his future crown. But she never imagined it would lead to this moment, this disaster, this heartbreak. As the guard dragged her forward, her mind drifted back to the reason this entire journey began, back to when it all started, back to the day she walked out of the palace in disguise for the very first time, the beginning of her mission. It had been early morning. The palace was quiet, the sunrise touching every golden surface. Queen Adizwa stood in front of her bedroom mirror as her maid styled her hair, twisting the royal braids she had worn since her coronation. But she wasn't looking at herself. She was looking through herself. Her reflection didn't show a queen. It showed a worried mother. A mother who feared something no one else understood. Her son, the beloved Prince Ajani, was everything she prayed for. Humble, gentle, wise, and uninterested in showing off royal privilege. Women from all over the land admired him. The palace was flooded every month with letters, gifts, and proposals from noble families seeking alliance. But Queen Adizwa saw something others didn't. Many of those women didn't love her son. They loved the title. They loved the palace. They loved the future crown they imagined themselves wearing. But would they love the man behind the crown? Would they stand by him in hardship? Would they honor him when no one was watching? Would they still choose him if he were just an ordinary man? Or would they not even notice him? That question haunted her. It haunted her so deeply that she came up with a plan, one that shocked even herself. She would go into the world disguised as the lowest woman in society, a trash picker, someone nobody admired, someone people ignored or mistreated, someone invisible. And from that position, she would see people's true hearts. Her husband, the king, had protested. This is too risky, he argued. If anyone recognizes you, no one will, she insisted. Let me test the character of the women my son might marry. If the people find out their queen was pretending to be a beggar, then let them learn humility, she replied softly. That morning, she removed her crown, her robes, her jewelry, everything that made her royalty, and stepped into a simple dress. She dirted it, tore it slightly, and wrapped a scarf around her head. When she looked in the mirror again, she no longer saw Queen Adizwa. She saw a woman nobody would ever bow to. She saw a woman who blended into the background. She saw a stranger. This is who I must become, she whispered. And then she walked out of the palace. That moment had felt powerful, brave, even righteous. But now, standing at the palace entrance again, she wasn't sure anymore. The woman she chose. As she was dragged inside, flashes of memory hit her like blows. She remembered the first day she met the humble girl, Ebony, a girl who had nothing but her kindness, a girl who treated even strangers with respect, a girl who gave a hungry child the last piece of bread she had, not knowing the stranger, watching her was actually the queen. Then she remembered the second woman, the woman with sharp beauty, sharp eyes, sharp intentions, Alayemi. She treated the disguised queen like dirt beneath her feet. She insulted her, mocked her, stepped on her importance unknowingly. But when the prince visited the village, Alayemi immediately transformed, becoming gentle, innocent, angelic. Queen Adizwa had seen enough in life to know a pretender when she met one, and she had believed she made the right decision. She chose Ebony. She defended Ebony. She trusted Ebony. But last night, something changed. Something big. Something that now had the whole palace screaming. She didn't know what happened yet, but the guard's grip on her arm told her the answer wouldn't be pleasant. Back to the present. Inside the palace, the air was thick with fear. Palace servants rushed past, avoiding eye contact with the trash woman. Guards whispered to one another. A royal advisor pointed toward the throne room frantically. Take her inside, quickly. The guard yanked her forward. Queen Adizwa stumbled, nearly falling. Her sack dropped to the floor with a thud, and something metallic inside clinked loudly. Heads turned, but nobody recognized the sound as royal jewelry hidden deep inside. Nobody knew the queen had been forced to carry reminders of her true identity in a sack like garbage. The guard pushed the heavy door open, and instantly, the noise in the throne room swallowed her. The king was standing. Prince Ajani was pacing. Advisors were shouting over one another. Maids were kneeling in tears. And in the middle of the room, Ebony, the girl she had chosen, was crying uncontrollably. But standing proudly beside her was Alayemi, smirking, victorious. Queen Adizwa's breath caught in her throat. Something terrible had happened. Something she didn't understand. Something she didn't expect. The king turned sharply when he saw her. His face carried disappointment, hurt, confusion, and something else she couldn't name. You, he said slowly, voice trembling. You caused this. The disguised queen dropped to her knees, the weight of everything crushing her. My king, she whispered. What has happened? Prince Ajani stepped forward, his eyes filled with sorrow. Mother, the woman you chose. Ebony, she is not who you think she is. The room froze. Queen Adizwa gasped. Ebony burst into louder tears. Alayemi's smirk deepened. Everything inside the queen collapsed. Everything she believed. Everything she trusted. Everything she thought she knew. What do you mean she is not who I think she is? She whispered. The king pointed toward Ebony with shaking hands. She has brought a problem into this palace that may destroy us all. The queen felt her heartbeat stop. Her disguise suddenly felt heavier, like chains. Her throat tightened. Her world darkened. She opened her mouth to speak. But before she could say a single word, a thunderous knock at the palace doors again, and a guard shouted from outside, Your Majesties, there is more you need to see. The queen's vision blurred. More? More disaster? More truth? More consequences of her undercover mission? The guard from outside burst into the throne room, holding something wrapped in cloth. Everyone leaned forward. The queen's pulse raced, and then he dropped the cloth on the floor. It unfolded. Everyone gasped. Ebony fainted. Prince Ajani staggered backward. Alayemi shrieked in fake shock. Queen Adizwa's world shattered completely, because the object lying on the palace floor was something that should have never existed, something connected to the queen's undercover journey, something that could destroy everything. Her voice trembled as she whispered, "What have I done?" Silence fell over the throne room so heavily that even the guards stopped breathing. The strange object, the one wrapped in cloth, lay on the polished floor like a sleeping serpent no one dared to touch. Queen Adizwa's knees trembled where she knelt. Her palms pressed against the tiles, cold and steady, but her heart was burning. She stared at the cloth-covered item, terrified to see what caused Ebony to faint and Alayemi to smile, like a fox who had finally trapped a hen. Prince Ajani rushed to Ebony's side, gently lifting her into his arms. His voice was tender, confused, filled with disbelief. "Ebony, what is going on? Talk to me." But the girl only sobbed softly, still half-conscious. The king motioned for the guard who brought the mysterious cloth. "Explain this," King Adewale commanded. The guard bowed deeply. "Your Majesty, this was found at the palace's eastern gate early this morning. A messenger left it with a warning." Queen Adizwa felt her throat tighten. "A warning?" "Yes, my queen." Her disguise still fooled everyone, and hearing someone call her my queen, while she looked like a poor trash picker, made her feel split in two, royalty on the inside, powerless on the outside. "And the messenger?" the king asked. "He fled. But he said only one thing before he disappeared." The guard lifted his head. His eyes were troubled. He said, "This object belongs to the girl chosen for Prince." All eyes shifted to Ebony. The prince looked shaken. "Ebony? Why would someone bring something for her? What does it mean?" Queen Adizwa couldn't speak. Her mission, her risky undercover mission, was the reason Ebony was chosen. And now something from Ebony's past had reached the palace, loudly, publicly, and dangerously. "Open it," the king ordered quietly. The guard hesitated. "My king, I fear it may bring disgrace." "Open it," the king snapped. Slowly, carefully, the guard unfolded the cloth. One layer, two layers. Gasps filled the room. Not screams, not panic, just intense, sharp shock revealing something none of them expected. It wasn't a weapon. It wasn't gold. It wasn't anything dangerous. It was a crest, an old wooden crest, worn, faded, carved with symbols that almost glowed under the palace lights. Ebony's family crest, a crest that nobody had seen in many years, a crest belonging to a household believed to have disappeared. Prince Ajani frowned deeply. Isn't this the emblem of the House of Oduduwa?" The entire court erupted in whispers. House of Oduduwa, a house the palace had cut ties with years ago, a house involved in old wounds and conflict forgotten by many, but never forgiven by some. Queen Adizwa's breath caught in her throat. Ebony was from that lineage? She hadn't known. Her disguise had helped her see Ebony's kindness, but it hid the girl's history from her. Alayemi stepped forward dramatically, clutching her chest with false horror. "Oh, your Majesties, I didn't want to say anything before, but I suspected this girl was hiding something. Something big, something dangerous." The queen shot her a sharp glare, but she still looked like a beggar, so no one cared. Alayemi continued, her voice trembling as if she were the victim. How could a girl from that disgraced house try to marry the prince? Her family fled the lands after. She paused as if trying to look respectable, after the trouble they caused. The trouble, the silent storm, the historical scar everyone avoided speaking about. Queen Adizwa clenched her fingers tightly. She had no idea what past Alayemi was referring to, but she felt the shame, confusion, and fear radiating from Ebony, who now sat up weakly. Ebony's eyes were red, swollen, frightened. I didn't know," she whispered. "I didn't grow up with my parents. I didn't know my family crest still existed. I didn't know it meant anything. Please, I didn't hide anything intentionally." Prince Ajani knelt beside her again. Ebony, calm down. No one is accusing you yet. Yes, Alayemi cut in sweetly. No one is accusing her, but can the palace really ignore a crest tied to a family that once threatened peace? The queen felt fire rise in her chest. She wanted to stand, reveal herself, command silence, but she couldn't. Not yet. Her husband still didn't know her role in this chaos. Her disguise was still a secret. King Adewale rubbed his forehead, overwhelmed. This is not what I expected today, he muttered. First, a fight in the palace. Now a crest from a rival lineage. And the girl we thought was simple and harmless. Ebony's tears fell harder. My king, please. I never meant to bring trouble. Queen Adizwa's heart ached deeply. She remembered the day she chose Ebony, the day she saw the girl give away her only meal to a starving boy. The kind of heart that couldn't be faked. The kind of heart the queen wanted for her son. But now that heart looked shattered. Before anyone could speak again, a palace elder stepped forward, an older woman with clear eyes and a voice heavy with history. Your Majesties, she said, bowing. This crest, it does not just belong to the house of Odujuwa. It belongs to a specific branch of that house. Everyone leaned in. The queen swallowed hard. Which branch? The king asked. The elder looked straight at Ebony. To the family of Adirond the exiled. Ebony covered her mouth, horrified. Exiled? But I don't. Prince Ajani held her shoulder gently. Ebony breathed. Queen Adizwa felt faint. Adirond the exiled. The name carried weight. Old stories, misunderstandings, betrayals between families. Adirond had been accused of wrongdoing many years ago, but the truth was never fully uncovered. Alayemi smiled slightly, enjoying the destruction. So she is related to Adirond, she said softly, like someone putting poison in a cup. And we all know how Adirond's actions almost broke the alliance between kingdoms. The elder nodded gravely. If a humble girl is truly from that lineage, it changes everything. But then she added something unexpected. It does not mean she is guilty of anything. Ebony looked up, hope flickering in her trembling eyes. Then something even more shocking happened. The guard who brought the crest stepped forward again. There is more, he said. Everyone turned toward him. More, the king asked. What more? The guard knelt and reached into his pocket. He brought out a small folded letter. Old, stained, and sealed with wax that matched the crest. He placed it before the king. Your Majesty, this letter came with the crest. Prince Ajani's eyebrows rose. A letter? For who? The guard hesitated. It is addressed to the woman who will someday marry the prince. The entire room gasped. Alayemi clutched her chest. That must be for me. No, the guard interrupted gently, pointing at the seal. This letter was written long before either of you were born. All eyes turned to Ebony. The queen's heart pounded. Open it, King Adewale ordered. The guard passed it to the king. But the moment the king reached for it, the letter slipped from his fingers and landed with a soft thud right at Ebony's knees. The palace whispered as the air tightened. Ebony picked it up with trembling hands. The wax seal cracked open. Inside was a single line, a single sentence that froze all breathing in the room. The one who carries this crest must never enter the palace, unless the truth about her birth is ready to be revealed. Ebony burst into tears. Prince Ajani's face drained of color. Alayemi stepped back in shock. The elder covered her mouth. And Queen Adizwa felt the world tilt around her, because at that moment she understood something terrifying. This was no mistake, no coincidence, no random event. Ebony's past wasn't just catching up with her. It was connected to something larger, something hidden, something dangerous, something that could indeed break the palace, exactly as the title foretold. The elder finally spoke, her voice trembling. Your Majesties! Only one thing could explain a warning like this. Everyone turned to her. What is it? The king demanded. The elder's eyes moved from Ebony to the prince, then finally to Queen Adizwa, still disguised and kneeling unnoticed. Your Majesties, she whispered, the humble girl's birth may not be humble at all. The queen's breath caught. Prince Ajani froze. Ebony's tears fell silently. Alayemi's fake confidence cracked, and the entire palace leaned in as the elder spoke the words that would change everything. Ebony may be of royal blood. Gasps filled the throne room. The king staggered. The prince almost dropped to the floor. Queen Adizwa's heart thundered. Royal blood? Ebony? The kind girl she discovered while disguised. The girl she believed was ordinary. The girl she trusted. The girl she chose. Might actually be a princess? But from which kingdom? And why was her identity hidden? And who sent the crest? The questions exploded in the air like fireworks. Before anyone could speak again, the throne room doors swung open with a loud bang. Another guard rushed in, sweating, breathless. "Your Majesties," he shouted. All eyes snapped toward him. "There's someone outside the palace," he said, voice cracking. Someone demanding to speak to the girl named Ebony. Ebony's eyes widened in terror. Prince Ajani stood protectively in front of her. Queen Adizwa felt her entire body go cold. The king asked a question everyone feared. "Who is it?" The guard swallowed hard. "Your Majesty, it is a woman." He paused as tension strangled the room. A woman who claims she is Ebony's mother. The palace guard's announcement hung over the throne room like a heavy storm cloud. A woman claiming to be Ebony's mother. A mother? Ebony had always said she grew up alone, that she had no family, that life carved her path through hardship, not through heritage. So how can mother appear now, carrying truth like a weapon, standing at the palace gate at the exact moment Ebony's lost crest resurfaced? The king slowly lowered himself onto the throne, as though the weight of the moment pressed on his shoulders. Prince Ajani stood in front of Ebony protectively. Alayemi took several steps backward, fear flickering across her eyes. Not fear for Ebony, but fear that this unexpected arrival might destroy her schemes. And Queen Adizwa, still disguised in rags, still kneeling on the cold floor, still carrying the guilt of her undercover mission. Her heart thudded painfully inside her chest. A mother had arrived, a mother with secrets, a mother with timing too perfect to be coincidence. The king signaled to the guard, "Bring the woman inside." The guard hurried out. Minutes stretched like hours. The palace grew silent, silent enough that even the torches on the walls seemed to burn quietly. Ebony trembled, her fingers clasped tightly in front of her chest. I don't have a mother," she whispered through tears. "I never knew one. I don't understand." Prince Ajani placed a steady hand on her shoulder. "Ebony, whatever happens, you're not alone." The words carried warmth, strength, and sincerity, and Queen Adizwa saw it. Her son's heart was already leaning toward the girl. And if Ebony truly had royal blood, if Ebony truly was from a lost lineage, then fate itself might be weaving their story together. Before that thought settled, the palace doors opened. 2 guards stepped in. Between them walked a woman, tall, dignified, but trembling. Her wrapper was faded but neatly tied. Her hair was covered with a scarf, and she walked with the cautious steps of someone who had traveled far and carried pain on her back. Ebony gasped the moment their eyes met. The woman froze too. Even the king leaned forward. Then, "Ebony," the woman's voice cracked. It was not the voice of a stranger. It was a voice of familiarity buried deep in the girl's bones. Ebony's lips parted, her breath hitching. "And mother?" The word left her mouth like a newborn, fragile, confused, trembling. The woman rushed to her, and the palace guards allowed them space. Ebony collapsed into her arms, sobbing uncontrollably, clinging to her as if a missing piece of her soul had returned. "I'm sorry," the woman whispered. "I'm so sorry, my child." Prince Ajani stepped back quietly to give them space. Even Alayemi watched with wide eyes, stunned. This was not the turn she expected. Queen Adizwa felt her heart soften and tighten at the same time. A mother's grief was sacred. A mother's truth was powerful. And Ebony's truth was unfolding at last. When the sobbing eased slightly, the king spoke gently. "Woman, identify yourself. Who are you, and why do you claim this girl as your daughter?" The woman rose slowly, but did not release Ebony's hand. "My name," she said, voice steadying, Is Adela, child of Adirant the exiled? A hush fell. Queen Adiz was breath stopped. The elder from earlier bowed her head grimly. Adirant the exiled. The same name tied to crest. The same name tied to old conflict. Prince Ajani looked between Ebony and her mother, searching their faces. What does this mean? Why did you leave your daughter in the world alone? He asked softly but firmly. Adila's eyes filled with sorrow. I left her because I had no choice. The king narrowed his gaze. Explain. Adeola drew a shaky breath. The truth begins. Years ago, she began, my family was forced into hiding because powerful people accused us of betrayal. My mother, Adirant, was blamed for something she did not do, and to protect us, she broke the alliance between kingdoms. She swallowed thickly. When Ebony was born, our hiding place was discovered. I feared for her life. I feared she would be taken from me. So I did the only thing a mother who had lost everything could do. I gave her to a woman I trusted in the village, a woman who promised to raise her quietly, safely, away from our family's enemies. Ebony blinked through tears. All this time you were alive? Yes, my child, Adeola whispered, brushing her cheek. But I watched from afar. I watched you grow. I watched you struggle. I watched you survive. Ebony broke again, sobbing into her mother's chest. The king stood slowly. And what of the crest? He asked. Why send it now? Adeola shook her head, trembling. I did not send it. The room erupted. What? Who then? Where did it come from? Who wanted it to reach the palace today? Adeola turned toward the king and queen, with an expression so fearful it chilled the room. Someone else has been watching my daughter, she whispered. Someone who knows her lineage. Someone who does not want her anywhere near the palace. Prince Ajani stiffened. Why would someone fear Ebony entering the palace? Adeola looked at him with painful honesty. Because my mother's bloodline, her true lineage, her secret heritage, is tied to a kingdom that once rivaled yours. Silence. No one breathed. Queen Adiz was heart-raced. Ebony pulled away slightly. Rival kingdom? What do you mean? Adeola hesitated. My mother was not just any woman, she said softly. She was the last daughter of the royal family of Iloro, the Golden Kingdom. The room exploded in gasps. Iloro, a kingdom long believed destroyed. A kingdom whose throne had vanished into legends. A kingdom whose return could either bless or destroy neighboring rulers. The elder's eyes widened. It can't be. Iloro fell many years ago. Adeola nodded. Yes, but their royal blood did not. She pointed at Ebony. It runs in her veins. Ebony staggered backward in shock. The prince stared at her, his heart torn between awe and fear. Queen Adizwa felt the ground beneath her shift. Her son had fallen for a girl with royal blood from a rival land, a girl whose identity could threaten their kingdom if the truth spread, a girl whose presence could trigger political whispers, alliances, or war. Alayemi's face twisted with panic. This revelation destroyed her ambitions completely. The king pressed a shaking hand to his forehead. This cannot be happening, he whispered. Not now. But Adeola wasn't finished. They are coming, she said, voice trembling. The ones who want to use Ebony's identity for their own gain. The prince stepped forward. Who is coming? Adeola looked around the room, eyes shining with fear. Then she whispered, the same people who destroyed Iloro. A cold wind seemed to blow through the palace. Ebony's body trembled. Queen Adizwa's heart pounded like a drum. The king's jaw tightened. Even the guards exchanged nervous glances. Suddenly, a loud boom echoed through the palace courtyard. People screamed outside. Another boom followed, closer this time. A guard burst into the throne room in panic. Your Majesties, he shouted. Enemies are at the outer gate. They are looking for a girl named Ebony. Chaos erupted. Prince Ajani rushed in front of Ebony. Queen Adizwa stood up instinctively, forgetting her disguise. The king barked orders at the guards. Adeola held on to her daughter protectively. The booming continued, the sound of something battering the palace gates. Queen Adiz was heart-hammered. Her undercover mission, her decision to choose a bride, had triggered a truth buried for decades. And now, that truth had arrived at the palace doors, armed with danger. The elder whispered shakily, "It has begun." Prince Ajani shouted above the chaos. "Who are they?" Adeola answered, voice barely above a whisper. "The hunters of Isloro, those who swore to eliminate the lost royal bloodline." Ebony clutched her chest in terror. Prince Ajani's fist tightened. Queen Adizwa gasped softly, and the king whispered the words no one wanted to hear. "Prepare for battle." As guards ran to their positions and chaos intensified, Queen Adizwa moved closer to her son and the girl she chose. Her mission was no longer just about finding a good wife. It had become a fight for survival, a fight for truth, a fight involving kingdoms. And she whispered a question only the readers and fate could answer. Who sent the crest? And why now? The palace walls had never heard such fear, not in the king's reign, not in his father's reign, not even in the time of the old kingdoms. The thunderous booms continued shaking the outer gates, each strike stronger than the last. Dust drifted from the ceiling. Guards shouted commands. Servants ran for safety. And the throne room, normally a place of calm power, felt like the center of an approaching storm. Prince Ajani stood tall, his breath steady even as the walls trembled. Ebony stood behind him, hands clasped together, trembling. Her mother, Adeola, wrapped an arm around her protectively, eyes darting toward the doorway each time the ground vibrated. Queen Adizwa, still trapped in her disguise, moved closer to them, her heart pounding inside the rags wrapped around her body. Every corner of the room had a question hanging in the air. Who are these attackers, and why now? The king extended his arm, and the noise silenced slightly as the palace obeyed. "Listen to me," King Adewale said, voice deep and commanding. "We do not yet know who our enemies are, but we will not let fear rule us." Another boom shook the palace floor. Alayemi screamed and jumped backward, grabbing onto the nearest column. Queen Adizwa felt a fire rise inside her, one she had carried long before she ever wore the crown. It was a fire of a mother who would fight tooth and bone to protect her family, but she still could not reveal herself. Not yet, not until the right moment, not until the truth of her mission was ready to be spoken. The king turned to the guards posted at the throne room entrance. "Send a messenger to the watchtower. I need eyes above the gates. Now!" A guard sprinted off. Prince Ajani leaned closer to the king. "Father, let me lead the front defense." "No," the king said firmly. "You will stay with the girl." Ebony flinched at his wording. The girl, a label that made her feel like a burden. Prince Ajani shook his head. "I must fight, father. Whoever they are, they came because of her, because of truths she never knew. I cannot hide behind guards while she stands in danger." His voice shook with sincerity. The king looked into his son's eyes and saw something powerful there. Not just bravery, but love blooming without permission. Before he could respond, the messenger returned, breathless. "Your Majesty," he panted, "I have reached the watchtower. The enemy has not breached the main gate, but they are many. They wear no kingdom colors. Their faces are masked." Adela's knees weakened. Queen Adizwa clenched her hands tighter. Prince Ajani's jaw hardened. "And they hold banners," the messenger continued. "Banners painted with the symbol of a broken sun." The king's face drained of color. "The hunters," Adeola whispered. "The sworn enemies of Isloro. The ones who vowed to erase all royal blood tied to the Golden Kingdom." Alayemi backed away further. I don't want to die. Why should we suffer for her family's enemies?" Ebony lowered her head in shame. Tears ran down her cheeks. Prince Ajani snapped sharply. "Enough!" Ebony did not choose her lineage. She did not ask for any of this. Alayemi frowned but said nothing more. The king stepped forward again. "If they have come for Ebony, then they will have to go through all of us." Queen Adizwa felt something break inside her, a silent pride she never expected. Her son stood strong. Her husband stood unshaken. The girl she chose, now revealed to be of royal blood, stood trembling but refusing to collapse completely. But the queen also knew one thing. If the attackers broke through that gate, the disguise she wore would cause problems. Guards would not protect a trash picker first. She would be pushed aside, trampled, overlooked, and she could not protect her family in this form. Yet she still could not reveal herself, not while the court watched, not while secrets were boiling around them. She needed the right moment, a moment that would shift everything. A scream suddenly rang out from the courtyard. Everyone spun toward the throne room entrance. Another guard burst inside. "The gate is cracking," he shouted. "They will break through in minutes." The king signaled the guards again. "Prepare the inner defenses. Seal the west wing. Move the non-combatants to safety." The palace erupted into activity. Servants and attendants were ushered out. Soldiers formed defensive lines. Court advisors huddled together in fear. But through all of it, Ebony remained frozen. Her mother tugged her backward. "Come, child, we must hide." But the girl shook her head slowly. "I brought danger here," she whispered. "I cannot run while others protect me. I cannot hide while people fight for a truth I didn't even know." Prince Ajani turned to her, eyes softening. "Ebony, you don't have to fight. You just have to survive." She looked back at him, tears glistening on her lashes. "Survival is not enough," she whispered. "If I am truly of Islero, then I must stand with courage." The prince stared at her, and the queen, watching silently, saw something shift in his eyes. Respect, maybe even more. The booming grew louder, closer. Suddenly, the large wooden doors leading to the courtyard rattled violently. Dust fell from the ceiling. Ebony screamed. Adeola held her close. Prince Ajani stepped in front of them. Queen Adizwa's heart pounded so loud she thought everyone could hear it. The king drew his sword. The air thickened, and then something happened that no one expected. The palace gate stopped shaking. The booming ceased. Silence poured into the room like cold water. Prince Ajani frowned. The king held his sword steady. Everyone listened. Nothing. Not a sound. After nearly a minute, a messenger from outside sprinted into the throne room again, confusion written all over his face. "Your Majesties," he shouted. They have stopped." "Stopped?" the king repeated. "Why?" The messenger shook his head. "We don't know. They broke through the outer barricade. They were ready to enter, and then they suddenly retreated several steps and stood still." "Are they regrouping?" the prince asked. The messenger hesitated. "No, your highness. They are not attacking. They are waiting." "For what?" Adeola whispered. Queen Adizwa felt a chill run over her skin. "Waiting. For something or someone." The king motioned sharply. "Speak plainly, boy." The messenger swallowed hard. "They say—" He paused and looked fearfully toward Ebony. "They say they will not attack the palace until the lost princess steps outside to face them." Ebony gasped and stumbled back. Adeola tightened her grip around her. Queen Adizwa nearly fainted. Prince Ajani stepped forward, furious. "She will not step outside. They want to capture or harm her." The messenger shook his head. "They said no harm will come if she surrenders herself willingly. If not, they will burn the palace to ground." Chaos erupted in the room. "No, this is impossible. We cannot allow that. What do we do?" "Protect the girl. Hide her." The king's face turned red with anger. They dare threaten in my kingdom, my home. Prince Ajani turned to Ebony, gripping both her hands. Ebony's lips trembled. "Ajani, I did not ask for this." "I know," he whispered, "but you're not going out there alone." Ebony shook her head. "I cannot let people die because of me." Queen Adizwa stepped forward instinctively. "I know, wait." But her voice was lost in the chaos. Ebony pulled her hands away gently from the prince. Her knees trembled. Her voice cracked. "But I also cannot run." The prince shook his head violently. "No, Ebony, no, you cannot." Before he could finish, the great doors of the throne room suddenly burst open again. A single guard walked in, bloodless face, shaking hands, barely able to speak. "Your Majesties," he whispered. Everyone turned. His voice trembled. "There's a man outside the gate." He swallowed hard. "A man who claims he knows the truth about Ebony's birth." Ebony froze. Adeola gasped. Prince Ajani stiffened. Queen Adizwa's heart slammed against her ribs. "And," the guard continued, voice cracking, "he says he has come not as an enemy, but as someone who once served the royal family of Iloro." The king's eyes widened. "And who is he?" the king demanded. The guard lowered his head. "He calls himself the last guardian of the Golden Kingdom." Ebony fell to her knees. Prince Ajani rushed to her side. Adeola covered her mouth. Sobbing, Queen Adizwa grabbed a pillar to steady herself. And Alayemi whispered the truth out loud, trembling. Everything is about to change." The throne room felt colder than the morning air outside. Ebony knelt on the marble floor, shaking as though the world beneath her feet had shifted. Prince Ajani held her shoulders firmly, refusing to let her fall further. Adeola stood behind them, her hands trembling but her gaze fixed on the doorway where a stranger, a guardian, waited to enter. Even Queen Adizwa, still trapped in her tattered disguise, felt her breath catch. A guardian of Iloro had not been seen in decades, not since the Golden Kingdom fell. The king raised his hand, signaling the guards. "Bring him in." Every heart in the room tightened as the doors opened. A tall man stepped inside, not armored, not threatening, but powerful in silence. He wore long, travel-worn robes, embroidered with faint golden threads that glimmered when the light touched them. His hair was gray around the temples, his face lined with years of wandering and secrets. Yet his posture was upright, proud, steady, unbroken. The moment he entered, the air shifted, as if the palace recognized something ancient in him. He bowed deeply. "Your Majesties," he said, "I am Olufemi, once guardian of the Golden Kingdom, and sworn protector of the last royal bloodline." A whisper rippled through the room. Ebony looked up slowly, and Olufemi's eyes softened with recognition. "You have your grandmother's eyes," he murmured. Ebony gasped, gripping Prince Ajani's hand. Alayemi shrank behind a column, her earlier boldness dissolving like salt in water. King Adewale rose from the throne, jaw clenched. "If you are truly who you say you are, then you must explain everything. Why is my palace under threat? Why have attackers come seeking this girl? And why reveal yourself now after so many years of silence?" Olufemi nodded once. "The truth," he said quietly, "has been buried for too long." He turned toward Ebony, "And she deserves to hear it first." Ebony swallowed hard. Her voice cracked. "Please tell me who I am." Olufemi stepped closer, stopping a respectful distance away. "You," he began gently, "are Ebony Aderonk, granddaughter of Queen Aderonk of Iloro, the last rightful ruler before the Golden Kingdom fell." The throne room erupted again. "Impossible. She? A princess? The granddaughter of that queen? How can this be true?" But Queen Adizwa watched silently, heart pounding. Pieces were falling into place. Pieces she never expected. Ebony shook her head in disbelief. I grew up in a small hut. I fetched water from the stream. I slept on mats. I never had anything royal." Olufemi nodded. "And that is why you survived." Ebony blinked. "What do you mean?" Olufemi looked around the room, choosing his words carefully. "When Iloro fell, it was not because of a curse, nor because of famine, nor because of weakness. It fell because a faction within the kingdom betrayed its rulers. They wanted the golden throne for themselves. Your grandmother, Queen Aderonk, was forced to flee with her only daughter, Adeola." Adela's eyes filled with tears. Olufemi continued. "But even in exile, the threats continued. The traitors formed an order, the Hunters, whose only purpose was to wipe out the royal bloodline completely. If even one heir survived, the golden throne could be restored. Power could return to the rightful line." He looked directly at Ebony. "You, child, are the last heir." Ebony trembled violently. Prince Ajani pulled her into his arms, steadying her. "I don't want a throne," she whispered. "I don't want a kingdom. I don't want any of this." Olufemi's eyes softened. That is why you are worthy. Queen Adizwa felt her throat tighten. This girl she had chosen by instinct, by heart, by observation, was more than she appeared, more than anyone appeared. The king stepped forward again. If Ebony is the last heir, then why have your enemies come now? Why not before? Olufemi exhaled slowly. Because the hunters believed the royal line was dead. They stopped searching. They grew careless. Until recently. He looked at Queen Adizwa, still disguised. Her stomach dropped. Someone had seen her in disguise. Someone had watched her movements. Someone had seen her protect Ebony in the village. Olufemi continued. A rumor spread that particular girl had a crest tied to Ioro, that she resembled the late queen, that she lived with humility, kindness, and strength, traits only the true royal family carried. Ebony's eyes widened. Her hand flew to her chest. Me? Olufemi nodded. And when your family crest resurfaced, placed in the palace intentionally by an unknown messenger, the hunters realized the truth. Prince Ajani frowned deeply. But who sent the crest? And why here? Olufemi lowered his head. That, your highness, is a mystery even I cannot answer. But someone, somewhere, wants Ebony's identity exposed. Someone wants the world to know she is the lost princess. The king narrowed his eyes. And is this person on her side, or against her? Olufemi looked grim. I do not know, but I know this. The hunters will not leave your gates until they see the girl. Ebony's breath choked. So I must go to them? Prince Ajani spun toward her. No, you are not stepping outside that gate. But Ebony spoke softly. If people will be hurt because of me, how can I stay inside this room? Prince Ajani grabbed both her hands. Because your life matters. Because you are innocent. Because He stopped himself. But everyone heard the truth in his voice. Queen Adizwa's heart squeezed. Her son's feelings were no longer hidden. Even the king saw it. Before anyone could respond, a sharp crack echoed through the palace. The inner gates. A second crack followed. The palace shook again. Olufemi's face hardened. They are forcing their way through. They will reach this hall soon. Adeola clutched her daughter. No, they cannot touch her. She is all I have left. The king turned to his guards. Prepare to seal the throne room doors. Guards rushed forward. Prince Ajani pulled Ebony behind him. Olufemi stepped into a defensive stance. Queen Adizwa remained still. Her heart was racing, but not with fear, with realization, with clarity, with duty. Her disguise had to end. This moment, the palace under threat, her family shaken, Ebony's life hanging in the balance. This was the moment truth demanded its voice. She stepped forward. Stop, she said quietly. No one heard her. Cracks spread across the inner gates. The guards shouted. Ebony sobbed softly. Prince Ajani positioned himself like a shield. The queen stepped further forward. Stop, she repeated louder. Still no one turned. Then she did the unthinkable. She reached into a ragged sack, pulled out a cloth-wrapped item, and let her disguise slip from her shoulders. The rags fell to the floor like dead leaves. Her royal bearing, hidden for weeks, rose naturally. Her posture straightened. Her eyes hardened. Her presence filled the room. The king turned, confused. Prince Ajani froze. Ebony wiped her tears in shock. Adeola gasped. Olufemi bowed instinctively, because standing in front of them, no longer shrunken, no longer hiding, no longer a nameless trash picker, was Queen Adizwa. Her crown was still absent, her robes gone, but her authority, her spirit, her identity, stood unmistakable. Enough, she commanded. The throne room shook with her voice. Everyone stared at her, stunned. The king whispered, Adizwa, you, all this time, you. She nodded once. My king, my son, forgive me. Prince Ajani's eyes widened in shock. Mother, trash picker, guardian of truth. Ebony stared at her, speechless. Alayemi backed away, covering her mouth. But Queen Adizwa lifted her chin and walked to the center of the room. "This chaos began with me," she said. "My hands chose Ebony. My eyes followed her. My heart believed in her goodness. But my disguise, my mission, may have revealed truths before the world was ready to hold them." Ebony's breath hitched. "But I will not let anyone harm this girl." Her voice rose with royal fire. "I will not allow fear to rule this palace. I will not allow history to repeat itself. And I will not allow strangers to take a princess away from her destiny." She turned to the king, and then to the prince, and then to Ebony. "The hunters want the lost princess." She stepped closer, then let them face the queen first. A moment of stunned silence filled the room. The king watched her, speechless. The prince looked at her with awe. Ebony covered her mouth, tears streaming. And outside, boom, 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 the final inner gate cracked completely. The hunters were seconds from breaking in. Prince Ajani drew a deep breath. "Mother, what do we do now?" Queen Adizwa looked toward the breaking gate, then at Ebony, then at her son, and she whispered, "We prepare for truth." The final crack in the palace gate echoed like thunder through the throne room. Boom! The sound rippled through every stone, every window, every breath. Ebony clung to her mother. Olufemi, the last guardian, shifted into a defensive stance. Prince Ajani stepped in front of both of them, ready to fight with nothing but courage blazing in his eyes. The king tightened his grip on his sword. And Queen Adizwa, now fully revealed, no longer hiding behind rags, stood tall, calm, and unshaken. If courage had a face, it was hers. The guards braced themselves as dust fell from the ceiling, and the great inner gate finally gave way. It didn't shatter. It opened slowly, deliberately, as if someone powerful stood behind it. The palace fell silent. Every heart froze. And then they appeared, not an army, not a crowd, not a band of wild attackers, but 5 figures. 5 figures dressed in long black robes adorned with golden markings. Their faces were hidden behind masks shaped like half-suns, the symbol of the hunters. They did not rush. They did not shout. They walked with eerie calm, their footsteps echoing across the marble floor. The throne room tensed. Prince Ajani stepped forward instinctively. "Stop right there." The lead hunter raised a hand, not aggressively, but as someone who wished to be heard before misunderstood. "We come under a vow of restraint," he said, "not to harm the palace, unless we are forced." Adeola shuddered. Ebony's knees weakened. Olufemi's eyes narrowed. Queen Adizwa stepped forward calmly, lifting her chin with royal firmness. "You have entered my home uninvited," she said. "You will speak with respect." The lead hunter bowed his head. "Your Majesty, we do not wish conflict, not unless conflict is given to us." The king stepped beside the queen, his voice sharp, "Then explain why you broke my gates." The lead hunter looked around slowly, until his eyes found Ebony, and the palace grew silent. "We came," he said softly, "because the bloodline we believe dead is not dead." Ebony clutched her mother's arm tightly. Prince Ajani whispered, "Don't move." Queen Adizwa's eyes hardened. "And if she is the lost heir of Ilro," the queen said, "what do you want with her?" The lead hunter lifted his mask slightly, not enough to reveal his full face, but enough to show aged eyes, filled not with hatred but regret. "We want to protect the truth." Olufemi stepped forward sharply. "Lie!" he thundered. "You hunted the royal family. You forced them into exile. You destroyed Iloro's peace." The hunter lowered his gaze. "Yes," he said softly, "our ancestors did, and we have carried the weight of their sins ever since." Shock spread through the room. Even Queen Adizwa faltered slightly. Olufemi frowned deeply. "Explain yourself." The lead hunter drew a slow breath. "The hunters of today are not the hunters of the past," he said. "We are what remains of a faction that once sought power. But time changes even the blind. We discover the truth hidden in our own archives, that Queen Aderonk was innocent, that her exile was unjust, that the Golden Kingdom fell because of greed, not betrayal." Ebony's breath caught. "My grandmother innocent?" "Yes," the hunter replied. "And the royal bloodline deserves restoration, not destruction. Adeola burst into tears. Queen Adizwa watched quietly, her sharp instincts reading every movement, every word, every tremor in the man's voice. "And why reveal this now?" the queen asked. "Because someone else moves in the shadows," the hunter replied. "Someone who does not want the truth revealed. Someone who wants the lost princess dead before she can claim her birthright." A chill swept through the palace. Prince Ajani tightened his hold around Ebony. The king demanded, "Who is this someone?" The hunter shook his head. "We do not know. Not yet. We only know two things. One, they sent the crest to expose her. Two, they're coming. Silence." Then the hunter pointed at Ebony. "She must leave the palace for her safety." Prince Ajani straightened sharply. "Leave? Absolutely not. She stays with us." The hunter shook his head. "You cannot protect her here. Your palace is known. Your walls are watched. Whoever hunts her knows where she now stands." Queen Adizwa stepped forward, fire in her eyes. "Then she will stand behind me." Olufemi nodded firmly. "And behind me," he added. Adeola clutched her daughter. Prince Ajani's voice rose with emotion. "And behind me, she is not leaving this palace without me." Ebony looked at each of them, then lowered her head. "I don't want anyone hurt because of me," she whispered. Queen Adizwa turned to her gently. "No one will be hurt because of you. People choose to protect what matters." Ebony wiped her tears. "What am I supposed to do? I'm just a girl from a village." Olufemi shook his head. "No, you are not." He stepped closer. "You are the princess of the Golden Kingdom, the last heir, the child of prophecy." Ebony blinked confused. "Prophecy?" Olufemi nodded. "Yes, the one spoken long ago. When the Golden Kingdom falls, its last flower shall bloom in a foreign land. She will rise unseen, humble and hidden, and through her, two kingdoms shall either unite or burn." The throne room froze. Two kingdoms. Unite or burn? Prince Ajani stared at Ebony. Queen Adizwa felt a sharp breath escape her chest. The king closed his eyes briefly, and Alayemi, hiding at the edge of the room, looked around nervously, calculating what this prophecy meant. Ebony trembled. "That cannot be about me. I am no leader. I have no throne." Olufemi smiled sadly. "That is what makes it true." Another hunter stepped forward. "You must leave, princess. We know a safe place. We know how to hide you. You are in danger every second you remain here." Prince Ajani stood tall. "If she leaves, I leave with her." The king opened his mouth to object, but Queen Adizwa touched his arm. She understood. Her son wasn't speaking as a prince protecting a palace resident. He was speaking as a man protecting someone he cared for deeply. She stepped into the center of the room. "No one is leaving," she said quietly. The entire hall turned to her. "Not until we know who our true enemy is. Not until we understand the purpose of the prophecy. Not until I decide what happens next." She faced the hunters. "You arrived with force. You broke our gates. You threatened our peace. And yet you say you come protect." The hunters bowed. "We regret the fear we caused. Our urgency was great." Queen Adizwa's gaze hardened. "You will make it right." The lead hunter swallowed. "How do we do that, Your Majesty?" She raised her chin regally. "You will help us defend the palace. You will reveal everything you know, and you will swear your loyalty to the girl you once sought to erase." The hunters exchanged glances. Then, one by one, they knelt. "We swear," they said in unison, their voices echoing to the throne room. Ebony gasped. Prince Ajani's eyes widened. Olufemi nodded approvingly, but the king whispered to his queen, "Adizwa, you have taken a dangerous step." She whispered back, "It is the only step." Then she turned to the hunters. "If the prophecy is true, if two kingdoms will unite or burn through this girl, then the decisions made today will determine our future." Her voice softened. "But one truth remains unchanged." Everyone waited. "Ebony stays in this palace, under my protection, under my roof, under my watch." Ebony burst into tears, overwhelmed. But Queen Adizwa wasn't finished. She turned to Olufemi. There's more to the prophecy. What does it say about the prince? Olufemi hesitated. The room leaned in. Finally he spoke. It says, "The lost flower will be guarded by a heart of fire, and the fire shall determine the fate of both kingdoms." Prince Ajani froze. Abani gasped. Queen Adizwa touched her chest. "You mean?" Olufemi nodded. "Yes, the prince. Ajani. He is the heart of fire." The palace went silent. The prophecy tied them together. Their destinies intertwined. Their choices now shaped history. And outside the palace walls, a second wave of enemies quietly assembled, waiting for nightfall. Night fell upon the kingdom like a heavy curtain. The palace torches flickered under the cool wind, shadows stretching across marble floors. The earlier chaos had settled into an uneasy silence, one that hummed with secrets, prophecies, and approaching danger. The hunters were stationed outside the throne room now, their posture stiff but less hostile. They had sworn loyalty, though trust was still a thin thread between them and the palace. Inside the royal chambers, Abani sat on a cushioned bench beside her mother, Adeola. Her hands trembled slightly as she watched the moon filter through the window. It cast a golden glow that made her look almost ethereal, like the lost princess she had never known herself to be. Prince Ajani stood near her, guarding her with the intensity of a lion protecting a cub. His gaze never left the doorway. Queen Adizwa watched both of them quietly from across the room. The air between her son and Abani was unmistakably charged, not romantic in a loud way, but in the quiet, powerful way destiny speaks. The king paced near the window. The hunters outside, the prophecy, the crest. This day has brought more questions than answers. Queen Adizwa stepped toward him. "We will not find all the answers tonight, but we must not let fear guide us." The king sighed heavily. "And yet, fear is all our people will feel if we do not resolve this quickly." Before the queen could reply, a soft knock echoed at the door. "Knock! Knock! Knock!" Prince Ajani stiffened. Everyone turned. A palace maid entered, bowing deeply. "Your Majesties, there is news." The king approached slowly. "What is it?" The maid's voice trembled. "My king, a messenger from the outer village, has arrived. He claims he witnessed a suspicious figure moving toward the palace shortly before the hunters appeared today." Queen Adizwa's eyes sharpened. "Suspicious figure? Describe them." The maid swallowed. "He claims it was a man cloaked in red, someone he had never seen before. Someone who seemed to know where Abani was even before the crest arrived." Olufemi, who had been quietly meditating in the corner, opened his eyes instantly. "Red cloak," he murmured. "That is no hunter. Hunters only wear black. Red belongs to a different order." Prince Ajani turned sharply toward him. "Which order?" Olufemi hesitated. "The Order of the Sun Mask." The king frowned. "I have never heard of them." "You would not," Olufemi said gravely. "They operate in shadows, worshipping the lost symbol of Ailoro's throne. They seek not the throne itself, but the power behind it." Abani shuddered. "What power?" "The power of the golden line," Olufemi said. "The power that runs in your blood." Adeola wrapped her arms around her daughter protectively. "We must take her away from here tonight," she whispered desperately. But Queen Adizwa raised a calm hand. "No, she stays here." Olufemi turned to her. "Your Majesty, if the Order of the Sun Mask is involved, then the hunters are nothing compared to what is coming." The queen stepped closer to him. "And if they are truly coming for her, where else would she be safer than at my side?" Olufemi bowed his head in respect. Queen Adizwa looked at Abani with soft eyes. "My child, you are not alone." Abani's eyes filled with tears. Before another word could be spoken, the torches in the hallway outside flickered violently. Then they went out, one by one. Darkness ate the corridor beyond the chamber door. Prince Ajani stepped forward instantly, drawing closer to Abani. The king moved toward the window. Olufemi stood up, his posture alert. Queen Adizwa narrowed her eyes. Then came a whisper, a soft slithering whisper outside the door. Not footsteps, not voices, a whisper of movement, like cloth brushing against marble. Prince Ajani spoke sharply. "Who is there?" No answer. Ebony clung to her mother, trembling. Olufemi moved toward the door and placed his palm against it. His eyes widened. "They are inside." The room erupted in shock. The king stepped back. Queen Adiz was straightened. Prince Ajani prepared for danger. "Inside? How?" the king demanded. Olufemi shook his head slowly. They bypassed the hunters. They bypassed the guards. Someone let them in. Queen Adizwa went cold. Inside betrayal. Someone inside the palace had opened the way. Prince Ajani clenched his fists. Who would betray us like this? Ebony's throat closed. Her voice trembled. Alayemi? Everyone turned. Ebony continued quietly. When the hunters arrived, she slipped away. And when the guardian revealed the prophecy, she looked frightened but not surprised. What if she knew something we didn't? Prince Ajani's face hardened. The queen nodded slowly. Alayemi has always wanted you removed, she said softly. First as a rival in the village, now as a threat in the palace. The king's jaw clenched. We must find her immediately. But before anyone could move, the chamber door creaked. Just slightly, barely a breath. A sliver of darkness peeked through, and a voice whispered from the hallway. Princess Ebony. Ebony gasped. Her mother pulled her back. Prince Ajani stepped in front of her like a shield. Queen Adiz will move forward, her presence powerful and steady. Show yourself, she commanded. The voice answered. I cannot, but I bring a message. Olufemi strained to hear. The whisper continued. She must come to the courtyard. Alone. Prince Ajani's voice erupted. Absolutely not. Ebony shivered violently. Why alone? The queen demanded, her eyes narrowing. The voice hesitated. Because the one wearing the red cloak waits there. Olufemi went pale. The leader of the Order of the Sun masked. The whisper added. He says he will speak. Only to her. Ebony's heart pounded. Prince Ajani grabbed her hands. No, you're not going. Queen Adizwa stepped forward before panic could take over. Enough, she said firmly. No one is going anywhere until we understand the trap. Everyone looked at her. We must think, she said softly. The hunters kneel for her. The guardian protects her. The prophecy names her. She looked directly at Ebony. But someone inside this palace wants her gone. Ebony trembled. Why me? I never asked for any of this. Queen Adizwa walked her gently and lifted her chin. Destiny does not ask permission, she whispered. It simply arrives. In that moment, the whispering in the hall grew louder. Not one voice now, but several. Whispers overlapping, circling, searching. Prince Ajani pulled Ebony behind him again. The king called for guards, but the palace felt different. Heavier, like eyes watched from all corners. Queen Adizwa's expression hardened. This ends tonight. Olufemi nodded. We cannot run from this. We must face it. But not blindly, the queen added. She placed her hand over Ebony's heart. You will not go alone. Prince Ajani stepped forward. I will go with her. The queen shook her head. No, if the prophecy is true, your fates are tied, but you must not reveal it yet. Ebony's voice was barely a whisper. Then who will go with me? Queen Adizwa spoke the answer. I will. The room gasped. Majesty, no. Adeola cried. Olufemi bowed deeply. The path will be dangerous. The king's eyes widened. Adizwa, this is not your battle. But the queen only smiled softly. I chose her before I knew her identity. I will protect her now that I know her truth. She straightened, a silent strength rolling off her. Tonight, we face the shadows together. She looked at Ebony, eyes gentle. Will you trust me? Ebony stared at her, the queen who once wore rags, just to test the hearts of women, the queen who defended her even before knowing she was royal, the queen who now stood beside her, as a mother would. Ebony nodded slowly. Yes, I trust you. The whispers outside thickened. The red-cloaked figure waited. The traitor inside the palace lurked, and the prophecy tightened around them all. Queen Adizwa held Abney's trembling hand firmly. "Then come," she said. "Let us see why destiny has called for you." And together, the queen and the lost princess stepped toward the dew. The night air wrapped around the palace like a dark cloak, heavy and breathless. The courtyard torches flickered weakly, threatened by a wind that carried whispers neither human nor friendly. Queen Adizwa stepped into the moonlit courtyard, her hand firmly clasping Abney's. No guards followed, no royals, no advisors, just the queen and the lost princess she once believed was a simple village girl. Behind them, the grand palace doors closed quietly. Even the hinges seemed to understand the gravity of this moment. Abney's trembling slowed only when the queen squeezed her hand. "You are not alone," Queen Adizwa whispered. Abney nodded, even though fear pulsed through her veins like a second heartbeat. The courtyard stretched wide and open, bathed in a pale, golden glow from the moon overhead. A single fountain bubbled softly at the center. Yet tonight, even the water sounded hushed, as if listening. Then, from the shadows beneath an archway, he stepped out, the man in the red cloak, the leader of the Order of the Sun Mask. He walked with slow, deliberate steps. His cloak shimmered like embers burning without flame. His mask, half sun, half shadow, hid his face completely. He stopped a few steps before them. "Princess Abney," he said softly, "you have grown." Abney's breath shattered. Her fingers dug into the queen's palm. "You know me?" The masked man nodded. "I knew you before you knew yourself." Queen Adizwa stepped in front of Abney protectively. "Remove your mask," she commanded. The man tilted his head. "I will, but only when the truth is ready to be seen." Abney swallowed. "What truth?" The man's voice carried a strange sadness. "The truth of your birth, the truth of Isloro, the truth of why you were hidden and why you must now return." Abney shook her head. "I am not returning anywhere. I belong here." Her voice cracked, but her resolve did not. The queen stood taller behind her. "You will not take this girl anywhere," she said. The red-cloaked man chuckled softly. "You misunderstand me, your majesty. I did not come to take her away. I came to warn her." Abney stiffened. "Warn me? About what?" The man slowly lifted a hand and tapped his mask. "About the traitor." Queen Adizwa's eyes sharpened. "We already know someone inside the palace betrayed us." "Yes," the man nodded. "But you do not know who, and you do not know why." Abney's skin prickled. "Tell us," she whispered. The man snapped his fingers. A soft wind drifted across the courtyard. And then, footsteps. Slow, calculated, cold. Someone emerged from behind a pillar. Abney gasped. Queen Adizwa's jaw tightened. The figure stepped fully into the moonlight. It was Alayemi. Her eyes gleamed with triumph and bitterness. She crossed her arms and smiled thinly. "So," she said, "the truth finally arrives." Abney stepped backward in shock. "You betrayed the palace?" Alayemi scoffed. "Don't speak to me as if you deserve this palace. You, a nobody from the village? You think you belong here because the queen picked you." Queen Adizwa stepped forward, fury in her spine. "Alayemi, you endanger the kingdom." Alayemi laughed, sharp and humorless. "No, you endangered it, your majesty. You brought trash into the palace. You placed a village girl above daughters of noble houses. You gave her what belonged to people like me." Abney trembled. "I never took anything from you." "Yes, you did," Alayemi snapped. "You took everything I ever hoped for." The red-cloaked leader interjected softly. "She framed the crest delivery. She spread the rumor. She told us where to find you." Queen Adizwa inhaled sharply. "You sent the crest?" she asked, eyes drilling through Alayemi. Alayemi smirked. "Yes, I did, and I would do it again." Abney blinked through tears. "But why involve the hunters? Why risk your life and ours?" Alayemi's smile grew darker. "Because I needed the world to see who you really are. Because I knew if your truth came out, the The palace would reject you. And Ajani, her voice tightened with jealousy, he would never choose you. Ebony's breath hitched. Queen Adie's voice turned icy. Ajani's heart is not a throne to be seized. Alayemi's eyes flared. I loved him, long before any of you noticed him. I waited for him. I shaped myself into the perfect woman for him. And then you... She jabbed a finger at Ebony. You arrived and ruined everything. Ebony's tears spilled silently. But Alayemi wasn't finished. I didn't just want you out of the palace. I wanted you exposed. Once your identity was revealed, no one would ever allow you to marry the prince. Not when you carry the bloodline of a fallen kingdom. The red-cloaked man nodded. She came to us pretending to seek justice for her land, pretending to want the Golden Kingdom restored. But all she wanted was a girl removed. Alayemi glared at him. You were supposed to destroy her. That was our agreement. The man lifted a hand. We do not kill heirs of Ailoro. That is forbidden. Alayemi's face twisted into rage. You should have finished her. You should have erased her completely. Queen Adiz stepped forward, voice trembling with controlled fury. Alayemi, you have spilled enough poison. Ebony wiped her tears, her voice trembling. I only ever wanted peace. I never wanted the palace. I never wanted a throne. I never wanted to hurt you. Alayemi scoffed. And yet here you are, sender of prophecy, protected by a prince, chosen by a queen. She raised her chin. Well, enjoy it while it lasts. Because at that moment, she pulled something from her pocket, a tiny golden seal. Olufemi, standing near the archway, gasped. That seal? Ebony froze. What is that? The red-cloaked leader answered. That is the royal sun seal of Ailoro. Ebony blinked. But I don't have that. Alayemi smirked. No, princess, but I stole it. Queen Adiz breath stopped. You stole the royal seal of another kingdom? And I was going to use it to frame her, Alayemi hissed, to make it look like she planned to overthrow this palace, to force the king to banish her, to make sure she never stood beside Ajani. Ebony stepped backward, stunned. Why do you hate me so much? Alayemi's voice broke with raw bitterness. Because you were loved without trying. A silence as deep as night fell. The queen looked at Alayemi with a mixture of sadness and disappointment. You let jealousy blind you. You let hatred guide you. And worst of all, you betrayed your own kingdom. Alayemi laughed bitterly. What kingdom? What has this palace ever done for girls like me? Ebony looked at her with soft, breaking eyes. Alayemi, I never wanted to be your enemy. The jealous girl's breath hitched. For a second, just a brief second, her eyes softened, as if she remembered she once had a heart. But then she hardened it again. You are too late, she whispered. She raised the seal. Everyone tensed. Olufemi stepped forward. Do not activate that seal. It summons. But before he could finish, Alayemi pressed her thumb into the center. The courtyard shook. Wind spiraled upward. The ground hummed. A golden mark lit the sky. Ebony screamed and grabbed the queen. The queen shielded her with both arms. The red-cloaked leader stared upward in shock. Olufemi dropped to his knees. No, no, the seal has been awakened. Ebony trembled. What does that mean? Olufemi lifted his head slowly. His expression was one of awe and dread. It means the throne of Ailoro has been summoned. Queen Adiz heart stopped. The throne here? Olufemi nodded. And someone must claim it. Tonight. Ebony gasped. I'm not ready. I don't know anything about ruling. Olufemi shook his head. Destiny does not wait for readiness. Prince Ajani appeared at the edge of the courtyard, having finally broken to the guards to reach Ebony. His voice boomed across the courtyard. Ebony does not claim any throne without choosing it. Queen Adiz turned to him. Ajani, this is bigger than choice. The seal has awakened. The throne will rise. And destiny will demand an answer. Ebony clutched her head. What do I do? What do I say? But before anyone could guide her, the golden mark in the sky split open, and a beam of shimmering light shot down into the courtyard. It hit the ground between Ebony and Queen Adizwa, and from that light, something began to take shape. A golden structure, ancient, majestic, radiant, the golden throne of Isloro, the lost seat of power, risen from ashes. Ebony stared at it, breathless. Queen Adizwa whispered, "Your destiny has arrived." But Ebony turned, trembling violently. "I don't want destiny. I want my life. I want to stay here. She looked at Prince Ajani. "I want you." The prince's heart shattered and healed at once, but before he could pull her into his arms, the red-cloaked leader stepped forward and whispered the final twist. "Princess, you may not want the throne, but the throne wants you." Ebony collapsed to her knees in tears. The queen lifted her. The prince embraced her. Olufemi bowed to her, and Alayemi, realizing what she had unleashed, backed away into the shadows, horrified, because the prophecy had awakened, because destiny had arrived, because Ebony's choice would determine the fate of two kingdoms. Would she claim the golden throne or destroy forever? And the courtyard fell silent, waiting for her answer.